We are Cactus Wrestling. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos.
Today we are doing a tier list of the best wrestlers under Coach Jay Robinson from Minnesota. Over 30 years as the head coach of University of Minnesota. This guy has a very impressive pedigree. He helped develop 63 All-Americans, 14 national champions, 6 Big Ten team titles, 31 different Big Ten champions, 124 All-America honors, including a NCAA record 10 All-Americans during the national championship run in 2001. That might be outdated since then, but everyone in his lineup was an All-American. A 753 winning percentage, and over 430 dual meet victories in his helm. There are a lot of prestigious athletes under his tenure, and we are going to do our best to rank all of those. And this is the definitive list because, as everyone knows, Jay Robinson is not the head coach of University of Minnesota.
Yeah, he didn't have the greatest end of the career. It wasn't his choice, but I mean, he also got himself in. It was his own doing. His handling of the Xanax or prescription stuff that his wrestlers were doing. So, I mean, it kind of made sense that the university had to do what they had to do. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if J. Rob was still coaching had his athletes not been doing that, or had he been able to handle that in a more positive way. But regardless, we're here just to go over his coaching performance of the athletes, how they did, not getting into his end of career scandal.
And had he still been the coach today, we would have Gable Steveson potentially on this list. But
yeah,
we do not. So let's start off with all honorable mentions. Mike, go ahead.
Yeah. So the honorable mentions. These all these guys are actually four-time All-Americans. So I mean, first guy was the earliest. He was back in the 90s. Chad Kraft took fifth twice, third and second at 50, and then 157 as a senior, where he moved up and dropped down to fifth. I mean, Minnesota doesn't have a lot of four-time All-Americans. These honorable mention guys are the only four-time All-Americans they have that are not also national champs. Anyone else for Minnesota haven't hit this honors, at least under J. Rob. So Chad Kraft was our first honorable mention. I mean, solid career, I would say.
Yeah, the next guy I'll talk about, because he was actually a counselor of mine when I went to the Jay Robinson camp back in, I don't know, 2009, I think. Zach Sanders. He was a 125-pounder, four-time All-American. Never quite got a title, but consistently solid sixth, fifth, and third throughout 2009 to 2012. He was a scrappy guy. And he was pretty funny, too, from what I remember him in the camp.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Logan Storley at 174. I mean, for all 4 years at 174, he never quite could get himself past, the consolation area. Finishing sixth, fourth, third, fourth, like never got to the finals. He was clearly one of the best in the country those years, but he was just never in the mix for a title.
And the last All-American, honorable mention, not All-American, is Dylan Ness. Two-time NCAA runner-up, second, fourth, second, and sixth. And it just goes to show that.
Not to interrupt you, but the sixth was because he got injured in the semis.
That's true.
That was the year Riabito hurt him in the semis. So
that's true. And what I was going to say is it just goes to show a guy who's a two-time runner-up is on the honorable mention list. All the guys that we have in the top 10 are a national champion. So it just goes to show the the pedigree of Jay Robinson's tenure
Right.
and
Yeah. No.
the
Yeah.
guys he coached.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, Dylan Ness. Who knows? He was a very dynamic guy. Like he was the guy like made things happen, let it really fly. And had Riabito not beaten him, he might have been in the finals. And honestly, that was the year that Riabito legitimately lost the match to
Ian Ian something. The
Ian
Kent State
Miller,
guy.
maybe? Yeah, it was Kent State. He legitimately lost the match, but the table screwed up the score and the coaches didn't realize it. And then when they challenged it after the fact, apparently it was too late. So he the only reason he was in the national finals was the table error. Like it should have been Kent State on Ness. And then Ness probably wouldn't have gotten hurt because he would have been wrestling someone different. Not saying that he would have been in the finals again, but I'd say there's a pretty good chance he would have been in the finals again. Like he might have been in the top 10. We might not have been talking about him as a honorable mention because he might have been able to win a title. But oh well,
Yeah,
things happened the way they did, and here he lies in the honorable mention stack.
yeah, especially since his brother we do have in the top 10, and there's some controversy there actually too. We'll get into that
Yeah.
in a few minutes. But starting off with the top 10, we haven't we don't have this locked down. We're gonna be debating real time here, just taking a list, taking a look at our list right here. Mike, do you have any pitches for number 10?
Yes. So my first pitch is might be surprised to hear, but it's Brock Lesnar, um,
Whoa.
two-time finalist, but he only started for 2 years. Shelton Benjamin was starting uh, his freshman and sophomore year, where Shelton took fifth and third. Um, so Brock, national finalist, is his first year as at the helm at the weight, and then he won it as a senior. He was 55-3. I know he had a huge storied career, WWE afterwards and whatnot, but like he's the only guy on this list that is a two-time All-American. Every other guy on this list is a 3 or 4 time All-American and national champ. He doesn't have more than one title. So he is someone that I'm thinking is 10, maybe 9. There's one other guy that I'm thinking might be 10 over him. But I mean, yeah, the
Wow.
55-3 record is pretty impressive, but
Yeah, I'm
that's also
surprised.
only 2 seasons.
I'm surprised. I think the 55-3, two times in the finals of the 2 years that he could participate. I think that I get what you're saying in the sense that he was only a two-time All-American, but imagine if any of these other guys were stuck behind a guy that was better and an All-American like Shelton Benjamin for Brock Lesnar. Would they have would they have I don't know. I was going to say a guy like Luke Becker, who had 29 career losses, 126 and 29.
Oh, that is the most losses of anyone on this list.
Yeah, sixth, fourth, first, fourth.
And he was
I
at
mean,
57 all 4 years. So that means he was the returning champ and then came back and took fourth.
yeah, that's tough.
But that's a 4 time All American. But
I
then
know, but
again,
you have to think if Brock Lesnar was the starting guy, he's gonna All American all year, all 4 years.
yeah, but he couldn't beat his teammate.
But his teammate was a
Was
multiple
an All
time All
American,
American.
yeah. I mean, the guy that I was gonna potentially throw out for another 10 was Dustin Schlatter, 3 time All American, who legitimately got worse every season. And by that I mean his NCAA finishes got worse every season. He took first, third, seventh, and then he did not place as a senior. I mean, he only had 10 career losses, but like his NCAA performance just was on a steady decline. First as a freshman, and then he just slid. So I would argue that Schlatter could definitely take that 10 spot. Only being in the finals once, and then he progressively like if he'd done seventh, third, or didn't place seventh, third, first, and he only had 10 losses, that would to me mean a lot more than the opposite, which you didn't place as a senior, but you won the tournament as a freshman. Like,
I mean, if you think of it about it, 10 career losses, did not place, that's two losses at NCAA tournament. Seventh place, that's two losses, and a third place, that's one loss. So half of his career losses were at the NCAA tournament.
yeah,
That's pretty crazy.
yeah, 5 in-season losses. Like, he clearly is like a top guy, but like his just NCAA performances really started to decline there. So I mean, that's why I kind of throw his name out there. I mean, he also is only a 3-time All-American.
Yeah, yeah, there's a couple of guys who are also only three-time All-Americans. Well, I don't know. This one's tough. I think we gotta try and decide what do we warrant more, the All-Americans, the steadiness of their career, their win-loss percentage, or the
I mean,
trajectory.
the one thing that you did say that kind of gave me to bump Brock up a little bit is that he's a 2-time finalist and he only had 3 I mean, granted, he only wrestled 2 seasons, but like if you cut any of these guys' losses in half, none of them are 3.
That's true.
So like the next closest is actually Schlatter at 5. So like um that probably could boost Brock up a little bit. So I think it would probably be Schlatter or Lawrence.
Lawrence.
I
We
would
didn't
put
even talk
actually.
about Lawrence yet.
Oh, not Lawrence. I mean
Becker.
Becker. Becker.
Yeah.
Read the wrong name. Um, I think Schlatter or Becker, but I think it's Schlatter because he progressively got worse at worse performances, not placing as a senior. Yeah, his record's stellar, but he slowly trickled down. And like, I mean, Becker was top 4 3 out of 4 years,
Yeah, that's true.
and top 6 all 4 years. Schlatter was top 3 for 2 years, top 7 for 3, and not even like the fourth year is like not even there. Like I think Schlatter's number 10.
Yeah, I could see that. I would probably put Becker as number nine then because he has the most losses out of anyone on this list.
Yeah, having the most losses. I mean, he had the consistency of pulling off top 6 performance year in year out. That's like a tried and true journeyman guy. I mean, he had the magic as a junior, and then senior year fell apart a little bit, but I mean, it wasn't terrible.
Yeah. And then at this point, I mean, I think everyone else on this list is a multiple time finalist.
Uh,
So
yeah.
by that logic, I guess with Brock Lesnar only being a two-time All-American, even though he was 55 and 3, he's probably the next one on this list.
I would say so. Because like who you gonna throw out there? Marty Morgan. Like, I mean, he's a 3-time All American. He's 110 and 12, which Lesnar, I mean, you
His
double his
losses.
record. That's 110 and 6. It's not that far off. Uh
Assuming that he takes second and first, he
yeah,
matches what he did his
yeah,
junior and senior
exactly. So
year.
like I'm thinking Lesnar's probably 8.
Well, then, I mean, you mentioned his name, Marty Morgan, a guy in the late '90s, or late '80s, early '90s, 110 and 12, sixth, second, and first in his career, three-time All-American.
So I mean, yeah, that is an option there at 2 different weights. But I'm also going to throw Jared Lawrence's name out there for potentially because I mean, yeah, 4-time All American, sixth, first, second, but he's got 130 and 23 as a record. So it's the second most amount of losses on this list.
That is true. That is true. It's refreshing to see how many matches that these old school guys got. Like every one of them has like over 150 50 matches almost.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Lesnar's the only one that doesn't, and that's because he only wrestled for 2 years for them. So,
Yeah, I could go along with Jared Lawrence. I think 23 career losses, even though he
well,
had a better or one more All American year.
but
At least Marty
also
Morgan.
his senior year, he took second.
Yeah,
Marty Morgan took first.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Marty Morgan progressively got better, 6 second first. So I think that gives him the edge just a little bit.
Right.
So Marty Morgan, number 6.
Well, if we are doing that, then that's going to leave Jason Ness because
Well, Tim Hartun. Oh no, yeah,
there's
Jason
four
Ness.
guys on this list that are two-time champs, and I don't think a guy that didn't win it twice is going to crack the top four. I think those four two-time champs are going to be the top four. So the only question is Jason Ness ahead of Marty Morgan?
So here's the thing. This is what I was going to say about potential controversy with Jason Ness. If you remember the last 12 seconds
Oh
of
yeah,
the 2010 NCAA Finals against Daniel Dennis, Daniel Dennis fell asleep and got super ducked,
yep,
taken down to his back
yep.
to lose to Jason Ness, who won the Hodge that year. I believe he won the Hodge. I don't think I'm making
I
that
don't
up.
remember that, but that's great.
I think he won the Hodge. I'm pretty sure he won the Hodge. And it was Daniel Dennis's match. 12 seconds. I mean, granted, Jason Ness hit a phenomenal super duck and took him down
Right.
to his back.
Yeah.
And it's not really a controversial because he took him down and it wasn't like a ref blown call. But Daniel
Right.
Dennis just handed him the victory.
Right. Right.
So I don't know. It's not really anything Jason Ness did wrong. I mean, he he earned it, but that's that. I just remember that because I also
Yeah,
went to
he
another.
found a way to snatch that win from Dennis.
I also went to another camp where Daniel Dennis was a counselor, and he was kind of an odd guy, and I just think that loss just
Stuck with him.
stuck with him. Yeah, I think he was like, "You're not allowed to listen to music while we run. You're supposed to suffer." It was like classic Iowa, just like
Yeah.
grittiness
Okay.
mentality.
Right.
Um, so that's my spiel about Jason Ness. Not saying he didn't deserve it. He obviously earned it. But
Well, do you think he deserves to be ahead of Marty Morgan is the question.
well, Jason Ness, I think he has the Hodge Trophy.
I yeah, that's definitely bears some weight. He also has a what is it, the second most amount of wins on this list? Career wins.
Right. And I don't think the Hodge was around when Marty Morgan was around. So not to say that
Yeah.
he wouldn't have won it, but Jason Ness, like you said, 148 career wins.
Well,
I
and
mean,
not only that, he was in the top five all 4 years. Marty Morgan was in the top two for 2 years, but then sixth, and then he wasn't in the mix for the fourth year. So I think Ness is a solid number five. I think Marty Morgan's number six.
yeah. And Jason Ness, he was a bonus point machine.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that definitely warrants number 5. And the remaining 4 will duke it out. All of them are multiple time NCAA champions. We don't have any 3-time NCAA champions, so this will be interesting.
We did have some guys that had their shot at 3 times, but
Tony
didn't
Nelson.
quite pan out for them.
Yeah, and it's interesting because couple of these guys are heavyweights too. So Cole Conrad, Tony Nelson, Damian Hahn is not a heavyweight, but he was a 84 and 97 pounder. And then
Mhm.
Tim Hartun was a 190 and 197 pounder. So these are all upperweight guys.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean Minnesota's been always known to have the top big guys. I mean, very fitting that that's where Gable Steveson put most of his career and potentially if he goes back there for his last year, um, his whole career. But yeah, so
I
we got
I
a
think
solid top four. I mean, they're pretty close all together. I mean, when you're looking at all their stats.
I think there's a clear number four in Tim Hartun, 133 and 21, only a three-time All-American compared to the other three guys who are
I mean, he
four-time
does have
All-American.
the most losses, I think, of anyone on the list. I mean, or
Well,
maybe he's tied with Damien, but
yeah, he's tied with Damian Hahn, but only being a three-time All-American,
yep.
third, first. Uh, I think that probably puts him down a notch compared to the other three
Right.
guys.
Okay, no, yeah, that's fair. So now that we got a top three, we got Damian Hahn, two-time finalist, two-time fifth. Then you got Cole Conrad, three-time finalist and a fourth. And you got Tony Nelson, three-time finalist and a seventh.
I think the
So
seventh hurts Tony Nelson.
I think the seventh really does hurt Tony Nelson. So it, to me, I kind of see. Yeah, I don't know because Tony Nelson, he Nick Gwizdowski ruined Tony Nelson's career of being the first three-time champ for Minnesota. Um, that's why he finished with that second. And then the same thing that Gwiz did to Tony Nelson, Kyle Snyder did to Gwiz. Gwiz was going for his third title and he took second. So um, it, I think I kind of have a clear number one in my mind.
I
It's
think
just between two and three that I'm a little bit.
I think my number one would probably be Cole Conrad.
I think it's very clear Cole Conrad. He took top four all 4 years, three-time finalist. He has the most wins of anyone on this list. He only has 13 losses. Like I think he's clearly the best Minnesota guy under J Rob.
155 wins.
Yeah, unreal. Like he's definitely the golden child of the past 30 years of I mean, Gable is probably superseding him, but uh he's not part of this because he wasn't coached by J-Rob. But yeah, I think Cole Conrad is the guy. But between Damian Hahn and Tony Nelson, I mean, Tony Nelson, you got three-time finalists. Damian Hahn took fifth twice, but Tony took seventh. Damian's got 21 losses. Tony's got 16, 131 wins to 118 wins. So, like,
Well, and here's the thing. It's interesting because a seventh place at NCAA's is still what? Is that two or three losses? Three losses, right?
no, it's two losses. Three losses would be eighth or sixth.
So a fifth place, there's really no difference between a third, a fifth, and a seventh in terms of
Well, no,
losses.
a third you only lost once.
Oh, sorry. A
A
fifth and a
fifth and a
seventh.
seventh, yeah, you lost twice.
So a fifth and a seventh are really kind of the same.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's where you lost in the bracket because uh, that just means Damian Hahn lost in the Conci semis and Tony Nelson lost the round before the Conci semis. So
So I think my preference would be give Tony Nelson the edge because he has more wins and less
yeah.
losses.
Well, and not only that, he's a three-time finalist. Damian
That's true.
Hahn is only a two-time finalist with two wins, but Tony took he matches that, but then also added a second. I mean, yeah, I think Tony Nelson's the number two, and then we got Damian Hahn as number three.
And Damian Hahn, for anyone who knows, is the head coach now at South Dakota State, doing a good
Oh, yeah,
job
the
building that
Jackrabbits.
program. And Tony Nelson, number two. So There it is, guys. There is our tier list, if you will. Top 10 and honorable mentions for the best wrestlers under Coach Jay Robinson for the University of Minnesota. Just to recap right here, for honorable mentions, we have Chad Kraft, Zach Sanders, Logan Storley, and Dylan Ness. And then the top 10, Dustin Schlatter, Luke Becker, Brock Lesnar, Jared Lawrence, Marty Morgan, Jason Ness, Tim Hartung, Damian Hahn, Tony Nelson, and number 1, Cole Conrad. What do you think? Did we get it right? What did we mess up? What did you like? What did you dislike? Let us know in the comments down below. And
yeah, who do you want to see next?
Yeah, who do you want to see next? Because we like doing this series, doing the research. Self-admittedly, I didn't get to see a lot of these guys wrestle in my heyday. Like I said, Zach Sanders and Jason Ness were 2 of my counselors at a camp when I was in high school, but some of these other guys were a little bit before my time. So some of the old timers out there, maybe there's more behind the stats. So drop a comment down below. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. We are Cactus Wrestling, and we'll see you next time on our next video.